MIMM presents Wicked Wednesdays.
I'm scared.
It'll be alright.
You know that feeling you get when you're alone in the dark? The one that's not there in the daylight? Or if there's someone else there besides you? You may have discussed this feeling with your friends, laughed it off as you tell them you found yourself running up the stairs last night, hardly daring but unable to stop yourself glancing back down into the dark. Everyone knows that feeling. Right now, there's a woman in the basement storeroom of her office building, searching through a box of files with a torch for last year's tax return. The air is very still, but the hairs on the back of her neck are rising as though there's a breeze. She glances back over her shoulder towards the door, but sees nothing. She flicks through the papers a little faster, suddenly desperate for the gentle hubbub of the office above her. The moment, for her at least, is endless. There's a young man walking home from the bus stop down a short path enveloped by trees. It cuts 5 minutes from his journey, and he always takes it without thinking. But once he's on the path, out of the soft orange glow of the streetlights, he regrets his decision. Every whisper of the wind, every rustle of the leaves makes him cast his eyes back behind him. In another minute or so, he will emerge onto his street and forget about this feeling completely. Until next time. Somewhere else, there's a girl in the shower washing her hair. This is usually a mundane task that she completes with barely a thought. But tonight, she is alone in the house and something is different. She keeps opening her eyes, soap burning her retinas, to confirm that the bathroom is still empty. She feels exposed, in a way that she never does when her parents are downstairs watching the television. Unseen, but their presence still comfortingly known. Another one, in the living room of a shared flat. The flatmate left an hour or so ago. Through an archway in the corner of their eye is the dark, empty space of the kitchen. They realize that their eyes keep drifting over to that space, until they are staring wide-eyed at the blackness. They lick their lips, thirsty. They do not venture into the dark kitchen for a much-craved glass of water. People have tried in the past to isolate and examine this feeling, find a reason for its being, explain it away with science and comforting, natural logic. They've all failed, of course. The feeling is not natural, because what it perceives is not natural. You always tell yourself that you're just being paranoid, and that it's just the leftover spooks from that last horror film you watched. But I'm afraid that feeling is very real. It's primal, and it knows. It puts you on high alert because it senses danger, and the eerie feelings come from not being able to perceive it with your first 5 senses. Of course, there's an easier way of describing this feeling. This thing that comes over you in the dark, empty spaces you find yourself in from time to time. It's me. Now, turn out the light, will you? I grew up in an extremely small town called Astoria, Oregon. Most of you only know its location on a map simply because of the Goonies, and while that movie is phenomenal, it is not the only thing my town is known for. In the last month, I decided I was going to do my senior thesis on our town's history. Since then, I've spent most of my time in our local library, digging up everything I could about Astoria's past. Yesterday, I eventually found my way to the artifacts section, located all the way in the back of the ancient building, covered in an inch of dust. After sifting through hundreds of binders filled with old newspaper clippings, something caught my eye. At the very bottom of one of the shelves, there was a red binder, completely hidden behind the support beam. I had to really dig to get it out, and once I did, a thick cloud of dust temporarily muddled my vision. Upon settling, I was able to examine the binder more closely. It looked to be about 100 years old, but practically in perfect condition, as if it had not been held in quite a few decades. As I opened it up, I realized only one article was kept inside, a newspaper clipping from the early 1900s. Immediately feeling as though it was hidden for a reason, I peeked over my shoulder. The only nearby sound to be heard was that of my heart thudding rapidly in my chest. I glanced back down at the newspaper article and began reading. It was dated May 7th, 1919, and it read, "After a week of mysterious disappearances and murders, Astoria's notorious killer known as the Dream Whisperer is still at large. One young girl lives to tell the story. As I pulled open my phone to check the time, I shuddered when my eyes found the date instead. April 29th, 2019. Exactly 100 years from today. I placed my phone back in my pocket and continued reading. Sally Mae recalls falling asleep in her bed at 9:30 p.m. and waking up 5 hours later, in the middle of the woods. While she has no recollection of how she managed to walk 8 miles from her home, she says she remembers the whispers. In her dreams, she saw a man she referred to as Scythyros Thanato. She states he was a shadow man with no face, who knew her by name, yet never physically spoke to her. Instead, he calmly whispered to her in her mind, as he showed her the tragic death she would soon endure. Nearby campers found her in a catatonic state, repeating the words, "I must die." Given this new lead, it is clear that the suspect uses an opiate on his victims, leaving them in a hallucinogenic disposition in which he can better manipulate his murders. Everyone is advised to stay indoors after sundown and triple lock their homes. Who knows when he will strike again? I quickly closed the book and bounded towards the middle of the library. I had to get on a computer to look all of this up. As I Googled steadily for over an hour, I came up empty. There was simply no mention of the murders, or even about Sally Mae. It was as if she never existed. Already having tucked the binder into my bag, I made my way to the door and headed towards our history museum. If anyone would know about these strange murders, it would be our town historian, James Haltley. I crossed the street, quickly making my way to the front entrance doors, where I saw James enthusiastically talking to some tourists about the Goonies. Having heard his spiel 100 times, I rolled my eyes as I hastily walked towards him, cutting him off mid-sentence. The couple gave me rude glances that I thoroughly enjoyed ignoring as I pulled James to the side. "What can you tell me about the Dream Whisperer?" I blurted out. I noticed the sudden shift in Mr. Haltley's demeanor, his earlier enthusiasm quickly fading from his face, replaced by an expression one can only describe as true terror. "Where did you hear that name, son? And who else have you told?" I looked at Mr. Haltley for over a minute, studying his face for any sign that he was pulling my leg. He wasn't. I found this in the library," I finally replied, pulling out the dusty red binder from my backpack. Mr. Haltley's face turned stark white as I placed it in his hands. No, no, no," he recited over and over while shaking his head. "I knew I should have burned this damn thing years ago. Stupid, stupid, stupid." I stood there watching the historian beat himself up for a good 10 minutes before a glimpse of hope spread across his face. "Who else did you tell?" he blurted out, grabbing my shoulders with urgency. "No one, sir. I just found it," I managed to choke out before he quickly escorted me to his back office. "Take a seat, son," James said sternly as he walked to the other side of his desk. As soon as I was seated, he reached into a drawer and pulled out a bottle of scotch, pouring himself a good-sized glass before returning the bottle back to its hidden resting place. I waited patiently for him to tell me what the hell was going on, but it was clear that he was struggling to find the words as he sipped long and hard on his liquid courage. "You have to forget," Mr. Haltley suddenly blurted out. "You have to forget his name and everything you read. You have to. Do you hear me? No one else must know his name." He slammed his fist on the desk as he stared daggers into my soul. I swallowed audibly, causing Haltley to lean back in his chair as he smoothed over what little hair he had left. What is he?" I finally managed to mumble. The historian looked at me as if he was having a battle within himself, and I, being the cause of such abuse. When he pulled the scotch back out, I shifted in my seat, preparing not to waste any more of my time, but he gestured for me to stay put. Then he spoke. "I can't tell you for sure who or what he is. I do, however, know he feeds on nightmares. He fed on my baby brother, and he was never seen alive again. That was almost 50 years ago." I sat there in shock at what I was hearing. "Did you say 50 years ago? Is there a record of his disappearance?" "No, damn it!" Haltley yelled. "I told you I got rid of everything. Well, almost everything." He sighed as he gestured towards the book. "He lives underground, beneath the city," I heard him mumble. "My guess is he has been there since before the city was ever built. All I know is, every 50 years or so, he gets to feed. He looked at me with guilt in his eyes. I pondered this for a moment, trying to put the pieces in my head. I glanced at the calendar on his desk and my blood ran cold. You say he comes out every 50 years. This article states that the disappearance started happening a week from May 7th. That means... I tried to get the words out. Yes, that means he will awaken sometime tonight, Mr. Haltley sighed and looked out the window of his office. I gathered my things and told James that I needed to go. Before I left his office, he looked completely defeated and again begged me not to tell a soul. I assured him I wouldn't. I went straight home. If I was only one of 2 people who knew about the Dream Whisperer, I was in danger and wanted to spend as much time with my family as I could. I played board games with my siblings, helped Mom bake a pie, and I even let Dad talk to me about football for over an hour. I hid the tears throughout the day until it was bedtime, making sure to kiss all of them goodnight first before heading to my room, counting my last steps as I went. I crept into bed and waited for sleep to come and take my mind away with the night. But sleep never came. An hour had passed before I heard a crunch come from my closet, sending shivers down my spine. I slowly stood from my bed, breath coming out in quick jolts as I made my way to the closet door. I reached for the handle, willing my body to move and face the demon. The door flew open before I had the chance to muster up the confidence. I jumped back in surprise, only to find my little sister giggling up at me. I sighed. "What are you doing in my room, Lucy? You need to go back to bed." She stuck her tongue out at me. "Fine, your closet stinks anyways. Here, take your stupid book back, it's lame." I stared down at the red book Lucy handed me before she sulked off to her room. Fear began to pour from my veins as the reality of what had just happened raced through my mind. She knew. My little sister knew his name. I began to feel lightheaded as my whole world began to shatter around me. "No, not Lucy. Please, no," was all I got out before the room faded to black. I woke this morning with a newfound appreciation for life that was almost taken from me. You see, the Dream Whisperer came to me last night, and he told me about his plans for the future. He's tired of my boring little town and would like to spread his wings, if you will. He promised to pardon my sister of her eternal nightmare if I told others his name. He looks forward to meeting all of you very soon. Okay, so I have a lot of sleeping problems, and I came here to help you guys. I have been struggling with sleep issues for as long as I can remember, but I never really tried anything to fall asleep better until a couple of months ago. Hopefully with this post, I can help you guys. Okay, so what I do is take a melatonin about once a week. If you take it too much, it can mess up your sleep schedule, so only take 1 a week, maybe 2. Fall asleep watching YouTube or Netflix, or even a podcast. When I listen to music, it distracts me, but people talking can put me right to sleep. Try moving around until you find a position that you absolutely love. My position switches a lot, so make sure to find one that you really feel comfortable in each night. They could be the same, or every night could be different. Usually that's how I am. Sleep with more pillows. I used to sleep with only 2, but then I added a few more. It works wonders, and it's kinda crazy that just adding more cushions can help you sleep so much. Meditate before sleeping. Even if you're not spiritual, just sitting in silence and relaxing really works wonders and helps you clear your mind and just chill. This helps with a problem I have when I'll be laying down and all of a sudden I start thinking of 1,000 things at once. Do the 15-minute method. When you stay completely still for 7 to 15 minutes, you will fall asleep. Your brain tries to itch you or make you want to move really bad, but just ignore it because doing this makes you sleep and gives you more time to sleep before they come. Always ignore it when you feel something getting in your bed and saying things or moving you, trying to get you to look. Most of the time, they just say silly stuff in words I don't understand, or sometimes whispers or even scream super loud. Like, seriously, how does it not wake the whole house up? It can be hilarious sometimes. My family members sure are heavy sleepers. Anyways, earplugs really do help a lot. When you feel them coming, make sure you do not move and lay completely still. They know if you're asleep or not, and most of the time they leave after 20 minutes when you're not budging. However, if you do accidentally take a peek, here's what to do. Make sure you have a Latin or powerful phrase on hand in your mind at all times. Saying it, even though most of the time it is hard when those silly things are screaming at you and grabbing you, it's always helpful if you remember this quote: Hypobellumni Antilia Bacchitario. This will keep them at bay for a bit and will give you just enough time to get back into your position and close your eyes. But if you're unlucky, it's still okay. Most of the time we forget things that happen in the middle of the night anyways, and just a little bit of cream can take most of the scratches, if most of them haven't already gone away by the morning. Well, here's my tips and advice for getting more sleep. I really hope this helps. Thank you for watching MIMM Presents. I hope you enjoyed the videos. If you did, like, subscribe, and please share. I'll see you next week for some more videos. Alright, catch you later. Bye.